Alright, ladies and gentlemen, due to popular demand, I decided to record what this Strauss guitar amp sounds like. It seems to be quite a popular amplifier. And I thought I'd run through and show you what it sounds like and what I've done to it. Little updates since the last time I did the video of it. I did sell it. I got it back. Tremolo wasn't working, and I'll go through that in a second, and you can have a listen and hear how that's working. Now I've got the volume set really low because I'm doing this through my phone. You know, it's going to distort if it's a little bit louder. So I'll that might even be too loud. I don't know. But I've got the volume set on about 2 right now. It's quite a progressive volume. It sort of gets a bit loud at about 2.5, 3. Then the volume doesn't get much louder after that, but it starts to growl a bit more and get a bit more aggressive in tone. But the headroom pretty much stops there. Admittedly, I have been gigging with this amp already. I've done about 20 gigs with it since I fixed it again. And it's been running fine. It's been running great. So before I play, I'm going to show you or talk to you about the mods I've done to make it a little bit better. So the first thing I did, and you can't see this, you don't really need to, I bought some tube shields. Straight out, just go to your tube supplier, whether it's eBay, whether it's your local tube guy, whatever, buy some tube shields. And the tube shields are basically those little cans with the spring inside that go up and twist over the top of your 12AX7 preamp tubes. Those tubes are the most susceptible to noise and interference and things like that, and it just takes it away. And you can hear right now, you can't hear anything coming through this amp. If anything, actually, the reverb circuit is a little bit noisy, and I've got the reverb set at about 3 right now. But if I turn it up, I don't know if you can hear that. There's a faint buzz, a little faint buzz. Now, most of the time it doesn't matter. Most reverbs do have some sort of noise. Yes, you know, you're using RCA cables and they're shielded and all that stuff, but you know, you're running this long cable that's basically an antenna from the top of the chassis down to the reverb tank in the bottom of the cabinet. You're going to get some sort of noise. However, one of the mods I did to this was I took the reverb tank out and I've put little rubber grommets on the feet where the screws screw in and it screws into the bottom of the cabinet. It takes the reverb tank and it lifts it up off the cabinet, so there's no vibrations and noise coming through. It isolates a little bit. What I also did was, and it didn't have this, I've also took the reverb tank and I cut out a very, very thick piece of cardboard from a box that I had from a delivery or something. I don't remember where I got it from. Cardboard box, really thick cardboard, right? Nothing, not tiny stuff like Christmas cards and all that. Really thick, that grey brown cardboard, whatever. I cut it to the same shape as the reverb tank, and I've put it in the bottom of the tank to seal the tank. One, it's not going to let any dust in. Dust is still going to get in, but it'll reduce it. Secondly, it's a little bit of extra insulation from the cabinet, yet again, and it also helps with any unwanted noise. And this reverb, even though it's still noisy, it is a lot quieter at normal reverb running levels, where I'm probably going to have my reverb set on this amp, about 2 or 3. Okay, so I'm just going to run through some sounds. Oh, have I done any other mods to this? I can't remember. No, I think that's it. Oh, when I got it back, I fixed the tremolo by replacing the tubes and resoldering some of the joints. The tubes were the main culprit, and here's why. The tremolo on this runs off the 12AX7 tube. Now, there's 2 in here. One of them is a phase inverter, and the other one is a preamp. In this particular circuit, the first tube is your 12AX7, like I said, and it goes through the first stage of gain. Then the other side of the 12AX7, because if you know, 12AX7 is a dual triode tube, so it's like 2 tubes in one. And so what happens is that you have your second preamp stage in the same tube. And then it goes to the second preamp tube, the other 12AX7. And in that, that 12AX7 is doing two jobs. One, it's controlling the tremolo circuit. And I think what it was doing was it was mucking around with the bias of the tremolo circuit. And the other thing it's doing is that it is doing the phase inverter to feed the two EL84s that are running in push-pull. So anyway, here's the sound of the amplifier that you've all been waiting for. Like I said, I got the volume set on 2. I got the tone set about halfway. The tremolo switched off right now, and the reverb's on about 2 or 3. Okay, so. So I'm just playing it through a Gibson. I don't know if you can see that. It's a Gibson Les Paul Studio in white. And anyway, that's what it sounds like with something with humbuckers in it. The amp does scream quite nicely with single coils as well, which I've played through at numerous gigs with it. So last thing to try out really is the tremolo, and then I'll show you what the tone's like. So here's with the tone all the way down and rolled off. And now what I'm going to do is I'll play a chord, and I'll let it ring out while I change the tone setting, and you'll hear how much of a variation the tone dial has. So quite an effective little tone circuit. Don't need much more than that really. And then the tremolo. So here we have full intensity, so you can really hear what it's doing. And I'll adjust the speed while I play the chord. Slow. Fast. And here's about somewhere in the middle. Okay, that's the tremolo. Tremolo's all the way off now, and then we heard the reverb before. That's basically it. That's all the settings this amp has. It's nice and easy. It's simple. It's lightweight. They are significantly cheaper than some of the equivalent alternatives that you might know that are a lot more famous. They're about half the price. Look, they are made in China, but to be honest, a lot of things are these days. And a lot of amps are these days, even some of these boutique amps that are coming out. And people don't seem to have a problem with that. So I hope that's answered a lot of questions from the first video that I've been getting, both in private messages, and a lot of people have mentioned some things publicly as well, which is great. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate your interest in these amps and the channel as well. What I've got coming up in the near future is I think I have an old 1968 Strauss. It's a Strauss Emperor, 50 watts, 2 EL34s in the power section. So thanks everyone again for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, like, share this video if you feel that there's interest for it. This is the Strauss, I didn't mention the name at the beginning of it. It's the Strauss SRT-15. Yeah, they still sell them, they still make them. I'm a bit of a fan. They're not Australian made anymore, unfortunately, but at that price, these retail for about $400-500. At that price range, you are not going to find a locally made amp, whether you live in America or Australia. Maybe double that price, you might get lucky. This is more like your Blues Junior style with your 2 EL84s running hot. One thing I didn't note in the previous video was that the bias is fixed bias. and you got to be careful with the tubes you put in. The first set of tubes I replaced in here, they red plated, and it was actually not the fault of the amp, it was the fault of the tubes. Now you could get away with that by replacing the resistor that's in here, or the fixed bias resistor I should say. You can get away with that and it'll lower the bias of the tubes and make them not red plate anymore. The tubes that are in here now are Electro Harmonics ones. They are working well, they've lasted this long through 20 gigs, they're not catching on fire, they're not red plating. And I've also gone through and checked the bias of them anyway using the transformer shunt method, which I will do a video of one day. It's a dangerous method. I think that's about it, guys. I hope that's answered most of your questions. If there's any other questions, post a comment below. Yeah. Thanks for watching, everyone.